Harbor Freight toolboxes have been all the rage lately, but if you own this US General 56-inch toolbox with the hutch, you probably already know the problem. The hutch door sticks out about 5 inches when it's open, and if you're taller than about 5.5 feet, you're constantly hitting your head on it. And once you notice this, it gets annoying fast. It's one of the most popular toolboxes on the market right now, but this height just isn't quite right. Now, I've seen some people online solve this problem in a really clever way by adding drawers from the 30-inch Harbor Freight service cart between the toolbox and the hutch, which raises that up about 7 inches. That not only fixes the head clearance issue, it also adds 2 extra drawers of storage. But here's the thing, I've never seen anyone actually show how to do this modification step by step. So today I'm going to document my entire process using the 2 service carts I picked up from Harbor Freight, and I'll show you exactly how I do this upgrade. Before we get started on this process, let's talk about the real problem here. The problem is I'm only 5 foot 9.5 and I'm going to hit my head on this every time I turn around to stick my head in here to work on my computer, to grab something off the top. This thing just sticks out way too far. Okay, now I've seen a couple of solutions for this you might be interested in. The easiest solution and the one that makes the most sense to me is to put these drawers in between and space this thing up. So this is way above my head height. I think that's going to be great for working over here. Another 7 inches or so is not going to bother me at all. Give me a little bit of extra storage. And I think this is going to be the best solution. I've seen some people come out with hinges that can be replaced, some 3D printed hinges. If you look carefully on some, I think it was on a Facebook forum, and there were some guys on there talking about these hinges that are for sale that actually allow this to recess a couple more inches, but it still sticks out. So for me, I think the easiest solution is just to install these 2 spacers in here, give myself a little extra space and give me plenty of height where I'm not going to hit my head, nor is anybody else in my garage. You can see next to me I've bought 2 of these 30-inch service carts. They're single drawer service carts from Harbor Freight. I think I got them on sale here recently. They were about 25% off, and they were all the way down to about 95 bucks or something. So for just under 200 bucks with tax, I've got myself 2 storage carts with the drawers, and I'm only going to be using the drawers out of them. So hopefully I can turn these little service carts into some kind of a parts shelf or something that's mobile. Would be nice to get a little extra use out of some of the parts. I don't have an exact plan here, but I've got some theories of what I want to do, and let's dig right into this thing and see what it looks like. First thing I'm going to do is unbox a couple of these here. I want to see exactly what I'm working with. I've seen a few of the guys use the rails that are on the sides of these carts. Those rails that go up and down, and they kind of support the cart. I've seen them use those as supports for the back of this toolbox. Now, one thing we need to understand here, I'm doing my research, I found that these carts are not quite deep enough to go the full depth of the toolbox. So we want to go ahead and find some way to space that out. So some guys are using that. I think what I'm going to use today, I'm going to use a little MDF and I'll build myself a little small box to go along the back side of these drawers. It's going to allow me to bolt the drawers to them, hopefully, and then make everything nice and secure so I've got a nice platform to put the hutch back on top of. This should be the tray. And this is the drawer assembly. And these are the rails that I was telling you about. So we might be able to make these work for something. This is going to be a little work in progress. We're experimenting as we go here. And this is what we're really trying to get after right here, is this drawer assembly. Okay, so we want to pick up this extra height on here. And you can see that the top of this is open. So this drawer assembly will slide out. I probably need to get the keys out. But it's open on top, and it's also open on bottom here. In the rest of this box, we've got the handles for the service cart. And it looks like we've got the bottom tray here for this service cart. So we're gonna put this stuff off to the side for now. I don't want to do anything with this at the moment. Let's go ahead and stick to the task at hand. Now that I've got both of these carts unpacked, I've laid all the extra pieces off to the side, and I want to get some measurements on these. And I also wanted to show you what these actually look like, because when I saw pictures of these online, I couldn't really see what was inside these drawers, if anything. I didn't know if they had a full flat top on them. But as you can see, they're open top and bottom. So they're basically just a frame that holds the drawer slides, and then the drawer slides into it. So we're going to be installing both of these together. Now I had a couple of options here to bolt these together and make them one wide drawer cavity basically, so they don't move independently. But the only problem I saw with that was the measurements on here, and these are just a little bit too short for that. So what I probably want to do is I want to have the hutch sitting all the way to the edge of the side of these, and I'm gonna lay these down here for a second. I'm gonna turn them so you can see them. But there's going to be a small gap in between these. Okay, so I'd rather have the gap in the middle than have a gap on either end so the hutch overhangs these. I don't think that's going to look great, so I'd rather have a little bit of space in between. So we're going to make some measurements on these, and I'll show you what we've got here. So for full width, I'm just under 28 inches. I'm really at 27 and 15/16. So I've got about a 1/16 of an inch less than 28 on these. And then for full depth on here, I'm sitting at about 15 3/4. Okay, so 15 3/4, not quite 16. Now the depth of that box behind me is quite a bit deeper than that, and that's why we're going to build, I have some MDF wood here, 3/4 inch MDF. I'm going to build a box that's the same height as these and fills out the depth behind these. And we're going to go ahead and bolt all these to that little box. This way I've got one stable platform to put the hutch on. So you can see these drawers have keys on them, and we'll need to unlock them to get them open. And I may end up just taking the drawers out while we build this little platform. Let's see what we actually need to do here first. But you can see by looking in here that these are hollow all the way through. So we're gonna need something to hold all this together, and that's why I've decided to use some MDF and build a box for this. I put these two drawers together to get the overall measurement of these stacked side by side without any space between them. And I've got here just about 56 inches, so maybe a 32nd of an inch less than 56 inches. Okay, and the space that I've got, if I measure the top of the bottom toolbox, the space where the hutch fits, in between the cavities there, the little side walls that are on there to keep that hutch from sliding off, that space that I've got in there is 56 3/8. So you can see I've got just a shade more over 3/8 of an inch that I've got to make up. And that's why I said I think what I would rather do is I'd rather have that 3/8 of an inch gap in between these two drawers. It's going to look something like this. I think that's better, and this way the hutch does not overhang the side of these. It'll go flush all the way up. That's the plan. Little sneak peek along with my public service announcement. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps our channel grow. Share with your friends and family. Don't forget to leave some comments down below if you like this project or if you have some thoughts on it. We'd certainly love to hear from you. Let's get back to the video. With a little help here, I've been able to get the hutch off the bottom box. Got it on the floor on its back here, and I'm just making a couple of measurements on here. I see I've got 21.5 inches from the back to the front here. So 21.5 on that. If I'm measuring the width of this box, I've got just a hair under 56 inches. So I want to make sure that I've got enough space here where I don't have much overhang, and I definitely don't want any underhang here. I don't want the hutch hanging over anything. So I've got the two drawers set here on top of the bottom box. I butted them together in the middle here, so there's no gap in here. I've also pushed them all the way to the side over here so that you can see there's no gap in there. And that's leaving me a little bit of a gap on this side, maybe about that 3/8 of an inch or so. But what it has done also is it's shown me that I've got just a hair under 56 inches on this tape measure is the total width of this thing. So this is great because I think the hutch is exactly the same dimension here. So I think I can actually butt these two together or leave even just a tiny bit of a gap between them, and then I won't have any overhang of the hutch on top of these two drawers, which is what I don't want. I kind of want it to look like an extension of the hutch. So I don't mind a little bit on the back, but on the sides I want it to kind of go flush all the way up the sides and all the way up the side of the hutch. If I'm coming over the top here and I look down the back, you can see how much space is behind these drawers. That's what we're going to try to fill in here. So I've got roughly 5 3/4, maybe a little bit less of space I need to fill in. So I'm going to build myself a little box here to put back here to take up the space. And I know some guys are talking about leaving some space back here to put stuff, but I think it's just going to collect junk, so I want to fill it in completely. And I'm going to actually try to paint this to some sort of color variation that matches this gray. Okay, so no twisting, pulling, just holding flat and level. Here we go. Right. Take that off, put it on the floor. Let me check the height of this. 6 and 15/16. Let me check the height here. Perfect. All right, guys, I got all my wood cut, and I want to give you a little idea of what it's going to look like here when we're done. So this piece that I've got here is going to drop in the top. It's going to sit flush on there, just like my piece inside. Everything's going to get glued and screwed together. Give it a paint job, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to come in through here and screw this inside of this drawer housing to the wood spacer that I made. This way everything will be fixed in one position, nothing will be moving around, and we should have a pretty stable platform. All right, so I'm just going to pre-drill a few holes here. I've got a little chamfering bit on here. This way it'll recess the heads flush into my MDF, and I'm just going to pre-drill these a tiny bit. These aren't very long anyway, 1 5/8. So I'm just going to run a few screws along here with some wood glue also, but let me pre-drill a couple of these to get these started. I'm just going to put a nice little bead of wood glue here towards the edge. With my finger, and I'm just going to spread this just a little bit. Trying to get this closer to the edge without it squeezing all everywhere once I clamp it with some screws. All right, notice a little bit on here as well. Spread a little bit out here. All right, so I've finished assembling my little box here. I've got it placed along the back of the tray. It's sitting within all the lips on here, and then I've sandwiched these two drawers together in the middle so there is no gap in between. And I think we've actually got a pretty good fit here all the way around. It's nice and flush on both sides, and I've got both these drawers pushed back as far as it can go. And I've got a nice little reveal on the front of these drawers here. So I think this is going to be a good test fit. I like the way this is coming together. Next thing I want to do, I want to secure these two drawers to the hutch that I have over here. And there is a brace that runs along the bottom. Unfortunately, it doesn't run end to end, but it's enough there where I can catch two screws right here in the middle of these drawers to hold this whole assembly to the hutch. This way nothing will move around. The hutch can't slide off the top of here. So it's right at about 11 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark some holes here. I'm going to pre-drill these to make it easier for me to install afterwards. Right at 11 inches on the center of these two drawer boxes here, or whatever you call these things. Oops. Sorry, I'm going to go at 11. And same thing on this one. Going right at 11 inches here from the back of my box. So this should be good. Something in the center obviously would be great. So I'm going to pre-drill those holes. It would be nice to be putting some here if I could as well, but there's nothing to grab on the bottom of the hutch there because that brace stops maybe an inch or two short on either end. But that should be enough. I'm going to bolt this box to the back side of these drawer frames, and I'm also going to bolt these drawer frames to the underside of the hutch. So that should keep everything stable. Nothing's going to slide off or move around. Then we've got a nice good fit all the way around. Let's go ahead and pull this back off. I got to get some paint on it. So I've got here a little bit of this Glidden Max Flex all surface spray paint. This is kind of a satin finish on here. You guys can put whatever you want on there if you even want to paint yours. I just didn't want the color of the wood sticking out behind the box so much, especially from the sides. The back you're not going to see all that often, but just enough to make it blend in. Not trying to make a perfect match on here. So we'll see how this color lines up here when we're done, but I think it'll be close enough for me. You guys could also put some black on there if you want to match the hardware on your box. It's up to you, but let's go ahead and see if we can get a coat of paint on this thing. I think these side caps here are probably going to be the most visible from the side of the toolbox, so I'll just make sure those have a good coating. And quite honestly, we only need one surface here with a coat of paint on it. The rest of this is going to be covered up by the rest of the toolboxes, so I'll just put a thin coat on there and make sure I've got a nice coat on those three surfaces. This part and both end caps. While my paint's drying, I want to go ahead and center punch my little lines here at 11 inches. And we'll go ahead and pre-drill these because I want to install these screws through the inside of the drawers after I've got the hutch mounted on top. Let's see if we can get, I've got some self-tappers here. See if I can get these to drill through here. If not, I'll use a drill bit. There's one. Okay. And then one thing I did notice when I had my box test fit in here is that the corners of these drawers in the middle seem to dip down a little bit. So I think having these screws screwed to the hutch is also going to help pull these up just to, you know, it's about a 1/16 of an inch or so, just to make sure everything stays flat and level. That should help the drawers work well and keep everything looking nice. Okay, so I've got my painted piece stuffed back behind the drawer boxes now, and I just kind of wanted to show you what everything looks like real quick before I do anything else. I want to get close up here on the reveal on the front. This way you can kind of get a good look at how much space I've got here in front of the box with my measurements. Okay, and then right along the side here as well, you can see this gap. So it's going to fit almost exactly like the hutch did. If anything, it might fit a hair better. Now that I pushed everything forward, you see that gap in here. And then you can see how nice and smooth I've got the fitment here. So it's pretty flush between the drawer boxes and the wood box that I built. Okay, you can also see the paint's not an exact match. I'm not too worried about that, especially at the back of the box, but I think it looks cleaner than leaving it the wood color. And then the next thing I want to do, I'm going to clamp these together here, and I want to just raise these up a tiny bit. I don't know how well you can see this, but these corners dip down just a little bit. So if I put this straight edge across here as level, I just want to bring these up a tiny bit. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to clamp them together, screw these two boxes together here so that this seam stays where it is. And then I'm going to also screw these boxes in. If you can see these corners here, I'm going to screw these boxes into my wood block. I'll be using my C-clamp here. I just want to go ahead and clamp this two drawers together. I'm going to try to make them flush here. I'm just going to use that to hold it in place while I secure it with a few more of these self-tapping sheet metal screws. I'll get that a little bit higher on this side. All right. I think I've got that where I want it. Let's go ahead and run a few screws in here. I'm going to try to get this behind this drawer a little bit, just in case the screw sticks out a little too far. I don't have to cut it back. There's one. I'll pull this drawer out a little bit and see if I can get one more back there on the bottom. And I'm going to put another one here in the front. Looks like it clears pretty good. I'll go one more on the bottom here. This way all 4 corners are bolted together. All right. I like the way this is looking now. These drawers are bolted together pretty solid, 4 bolts all the way around. And then the next thing I want to do, I want to bolt these drawers to my wood box. So I'll probably go ahead and do the same thing. See if I can find some screws along here. I'll put 2 on this side, maybe 2 on this side, or maybe I'll do 4. A little extra strength. And I want this to be like one platform that stays together. So I just use my self-tappers here, and I think I'm just going to go with these wood screws into the MDF now that I've got some holes through the sheet metal. Seems to pull it together nicely. I've just been drilling some small pilot holes here in the wood after I've got my hole in the sheet metal. Not too deep. So in the back corner here, this is where I've got 2 screws. I've got another 2 over here in this corner, 1 and 2. And then of course you can see over here, I've put screws in both of these corners, screwing the 2 boxes together. And here and down here. So 4 hold the 2 boxes together, the 2 frames for the drawers. And then I've also got 4 screws screwing to the big wood block we've built for the back of it, okay? So they're just screwing into this panel right here. And then I've got the same thing happening on the other drawer over here. Okay, you can see a couple screws there in the corner. Go to the other side, I've got a couple screws there. And then see those screw heads coming through on this side. And they're not sticking out enough to contact the drawers or the slides, so I think we're in good shape with that. I'm just going to leave them the way they are. So I've removed the whole assembly here off the top of the bottom box. I got my mat cleaned up a little, so I'm ready to reassemble here in a minute. And then I want to show you what this looks like. So I've got this whole frame out. And of course, I didn't paint that little section there was sitting on top of my cart, but it's going to be facing downward anyway. Nobody's going to see it, but it's going to give you an idea what this all looks like bolted together. And then, of course, this thing picks up all as one piece now. So it's all bolted together. That's kind of how I wanted it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mark these holes that we drilled earlier. So I got these 2 holes that I drilled, and they're going to line up to this brace that's on the bottom of the hutch. So you see this brace goes all the way across, but it doesn't go all the way to the end, which is kind of weird. But it'll at least rest in the middle of this, and then I can screw from underneath. I can screw these 2 screws here. I'm going to screw those right into this metal bracket right in the middle here. And that's what's going to keep the hutch from sliding around. So I put my drawer boxes up here against the hutch, and I just wanted to mark these 2 holes that I pre-drilled because I need to pre-drill the hutch also. There's not enough room for me to get a drill in with all the drawer slides and things where they are. So I'm just going to go ahead and place this up here, get everything lined up, mark it with some paint. I've got here a little yellow paint. Just going to give it a couple of marks, and then we'll pull it back off. Put a couple of wood shims under here because I've got this laying on a moving blanket. But I put a couple of cardboard shims underneath just to kind of get the height where I want it. This way, these sides are sitting pretty flush, and the sides over here are also sitting flush. I want everything to line up as nice as possible before I drill these holes. Those are pretty much going to be my alignment holes for this. So now I've got my holes marked. I use my center punch here just to go ahead and make sure I've got a good little dimple. Both holes. And then I'm still going to use these self-tapping screws. I'm just going to try to drill some holes in here with these. And this way, I should be able to line this up once it's up on the bottom toolbox, and then just run the bolts in with a ratchet. Or the screws, I should call them. All right, so those are my holes. And now I think we're ready to assemble everything. All right, so we were able to get the middle section up as one piece. Now I want to put the top on. We got that up in one piece. And the last thing I want to do is I want to use those 2 holes I made and try to screw the hutch to the middle section here. So this is the part I have to get in there with a ratchet. That's why I pre-drilled those holes. Let's see if we can get these screws to go in where I want them to. I got one there. I'm gonna go to the other side. Hold on. So that second bolt gave me a little bit of trouble there lining it up, but I finally got it in there. And now the last thing we've got to do is get these drawers reinstalled. All right, there's 2 drawers. It's pretty secure now. I think everything's going to stay put exactly like we want it to. In case you guys were wondering what I did with my extra parts, I just built myself this 4-shelf mobile cart here. Seemed to have the perfect amount of hardware, and I used up all the pieces except the 4 extra wheels. So that's what you can do with your 2 extra carts. All right, guys, there's my finished project. I think it looks pretty good. It's got some extra height on it. It's pretty high, you know, almost the shoulder height to work inside of here. So if that bothers you, that might be a problem. I don't do a whole lot of work up here. I'm just storing some things, and I like to be able to close this up, keep my scanners locked inside overnight in my computer. But I think the head clearance issue has been solved. You know, at 5'9", I don't have a whole lot of stuff to worry about here hitting me in the head anymore. So I think it came out fairly clean and useful. A couple $100 worth of materials, including the drawers. That's not such a bad deal at all. If you're wondering what I was using for some of these products, I'll just run through them again. Over here, I've got some number 6 by 1 5/8 wood screws. So they're basically just drywall screws. You can use those for the wood portions of it. And then I've got these little self-tapping sheet metal screws. And these were probably just under 1 inch long. So if you wanted to use something like that, these I just had laying around. I don't even have the box for them anymore. I've got some Tite Bond wood glue. I showed you the can of paint already here. Max Flex all surface, good for wood, metal, vinyl, and more. And of course, a couple of tools. Just make sure if you're using the drill bit here to pre-drill your holes, you want to use something that has the chamfer end on it. You can get those at the hardware store. So this helps you recess the head of those screws so they're not sticking out past the wood. And I'm pretty happy with the overall result. I think it's going to work out good for me. And if you're looking to do this project and you want to use my method, I think building a little wood box back there is great. And this is fairly sturdy now. You're not going to pull the top hutch off of the drawers at all. It's all stuck in here. So even with just those 2 screws in the middle, I would have liked to put some more on the ends. Would have been great. One more little tidbit, I think while I was doing some research here, I saw some of the guys were using the angle iron and they were putting it along the sides here to hold everything together. So it's another option for you if you wanted to take some of that, bolt it to the side. I wanted to keep mine flush all the way around, and I didn't want to see those brackets at all. I was worried once I cut them, I'd have to paint the exposed ends, otherwise it's going to look weird, have some sharp edges and things. So I think this was just a cleaner installation for me. Hope you guys enjoyed this project. I hope it's helpful for you. If you want to do the same thing to your toolbox, keep in mind there's other products out there. I told you about the things for the hinges, 3D printed brackets, and that recesses a little bit. So I know there's some spacers for the wheels you can put in there. There's lots of options to get this to work for you. I just figured, you know, 20 bucks worth of wood and screws and some glue, and you got yourself a little box you build, some spray paint. You know, it's not a big deal, and it seems like a nice fit. It looks pretty good, looks clean to me, and it'll serve its purpose here for many years to come. So thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave some comments down below if you got something to say. We'll see you in the next one.